Today's energy healing and commentary will help you begin a new chapter in your healing journey as I talk about 5 books that found me just when I needed them the most. Let's go. Hi, I am Tina Rose, energy healer, intuitive, and soul whisperer. I help you find your true self, your true authentic self, by giving you energy healings and offering you commentary for your self discovery. Today's energy healing will open you up to be receptive to the books and information that are wanting to find you. Information that you are ready to receive for the next phase of your transformation. I like to call it information for transformation. Now, in this video, I have narrowed everything down as far as the books that affected me and helped me over the decades of my life. There has definitely been a library of books that have helped me in my personal development journey, but I'm going to narrow it down today just to 5 books. And I've been on a personal development journey basically my whole life. I distinctively remember it, especially after the age of 18. I distinctly remember at the age of 18, I remember the table I was sitting at, the house I was in, everything, and even what I was working on and what I was thinking. When I had my first intuitive hit that I needed to change something because this isn't the life that I want, where I was at. And I won't go into detail because it'll drag the video out, but that is basically when I started personal development. And ever since that day, it was personal development all the way. Of course, I had to go to college, get a corporate America job. I didn't have to get a corporate America job, but that's what I got in accounting and finance. And so a lot of my time went to that, but every waking hour, every waking minute almost outside of those jobs, I was working on personal development. I was so driven. It was just like in my DNA. It was my everything. And people would even kind of joke about it, and of course criticize it some, but I never stopped. It just kept going and going inside of me. And so I kept following that urge for personal development. I needed it. And I'm going to go into why I needed it so much. Because I am planning to do a series of videos about how my suffering led to my healing. And so that'll come. But fast forward to the year 2000. That is the first book I'm going to talk about that had a major play in my personal development. Everything is right on time. So I had been working up to this. Everything builds on the next thing, and it's important. Just remember, everything comes to you at the right time. And I'm going to add something to that too on a later book that's important and interesting. But the first book, year 2000, was The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And I wrote down some just detail for an overview for you about this book because it has been 25 years and I didn't want to get anything wrong. So the 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, always do your best. They sound very simple, and a lot of people might think, well, I already do all that. But he breaks it down and he takes a deep dive into each agreement. And like, be impeccable with your word. I felt like I was a pretty honest person, and I've tried to be nice to everybody, things like that back in 2000. But he took it deeper. And part of being impeccable with your word is being honest with yourself, having integrity about the things that you say about yourself and how you treat yourself. So his book was basically a code of conduct based on his teachings from his ancient heritage called Toltec in Mexico. A code of conduct by which to live your life. And one thing that stands out to me that was helpful to me because I was raised in a religious family, but I never felt like I fit into that. And one of his outstanding quotes for me was in the Four Agreements. He defined that sin was anything you do that goes against yourself. That resonated with me. And it has ever since. And we're going to go deeper into that when we get into some of the later books. It is important for me to emphasize here that when you read a personal development book, a self help book, that it's great that you read it and it resonates with you and you feel, inspired, you're uplifted. What is important for me to emphasize is that you need to put the pieces, the information into practice in your own life. You need to find a way to incorporate the key concepts of that personal development strategy or whatever it is. You need to incorporate it into your daily lives. And when I first read the Four Agreements, I I'll say I went crazy, but I was very persistent. I read the book many times. I also purchased an audio book, and I had a commute to work living in Atlanta in the States, busy city. And so I had 45 minutes to an hour drive to work and back. And I would listen to this audio recording of the Four Agreements every day, morning and afternoon. And I feel like, not literally, but a big majority of it I memorized. And so that is what you do. I mean, you don't have to do it that way, my way, but that is one of the things that I do. Whenever I read something and it really resonates with me, I say, okay, I'm going to put these practices into my experience so that I can learn from it and grow from it. All right, so we'll move on to the second book, the second two books. I'm going to group these two together. Dr. Dyer has left the body. He's no longer in the physical body. And but that was a book that was influential. He was very famous. You may have heard of him, even if you were not in the personal development industry, following as a consumer or whatever. He was on public television with his lectures and presentations. He had many books, not just this one. I don't know. I can't say 50, 100, 150 books that he wrote. I don't know. But he was very popular and he was very just a kind man. He helped raise 8 children. And after he passed, I would meditate and I would kind of like talk to him. And over time, I started calling him Daddy Dyer. That was just for fun, but I just felt very close to him. He was so personable and easy to connect with. He seemed, I never met him in person. So if you get a chance to read Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Dr. Wayne Dyer, or one of his books, anyone, whatever resonates with you, I feel like that would be something that would help you and maybe one of the steps into your transformation. The other book in this clip is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. He is still living in the body, and he's from Canada, I believe. But he wrote The Power of Now and The New Earth. I read both of those books, and they're both great, similar, but I guess The Power of Now kind of went into some more detail about how to not live in the past and not live in the future, but live in the present moment only. Because the past and the future are illusions. And You want to stay in the right now. It's all about your current experience, right? And it's not about what happens to you, it's about how you respond to it. And one of the quotes that I remember from Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, or it could have been The New Earth, I don't know. This was a while back also that I read these, 15 years maybe, was you are life itself. I wrote something down, but it would take me a minute to find it recently. But the one quote, and it went something like this, is that you are not the dancer, you are the dance. And that stuck with me, that resonated with me. So the new earth is where we're going, and maybe even now we're in the new earth. It is a mindset. So the new earth could be here for some people, and some people aren't there yet. The fourth book in the video that I'm doing today is A Course in Miracles, and it's by the Foundation for Inner Peace, channeled by a woman named Helen Schupman, I believe. Her name is not on the front of the book. The Foundation of Inner Peace is. They're the one that's the organization that actually published the book. And it might even have been after her death, but she was okay with it. There was another person working with her. She was a professor of psychology, I believe. And anyway, this book, let me jump into the fifth book, is The Way of Mastery. And that was also published by an organization called Shanti Christo Foundation. So going back to A Course in Miracles, this book, A Course in Miracles, was a really big book for me. It dropped in my lap 15 years before I actually read the book. And that was what I was going to touch on. I mentioned it earlier in the video that everything comes to you at the right time. Well, my higher self knew that I was ready for it, but I did not. I let life get in the way. I did not get into it. And it took me 15 years. And that's another thing I'm going to go into and talk more in depth about when I do my series on how my suffering led to my healing. That's what that 15-year period is about. It was the culmination of that suffering that finally opened my eyes that I needed to do something, and I needed to do this book. I needed to do this book, A Course in Miracles. So, A Course in Miracles, I'll say, is a living transmission. That means it is more than words on a page. And I did some research on it because I wanted to be clear about what a living transmission is. This isn't the only book that is a living transmission. So let's go into a living transmission carries an energetic frequency, a wisdom that teaches and awakens the reader. So it's transformative beyond the intellect. Even if you don't understand the words or context, you are changed, opened, and healed simply by engaging with it, reading it. It takes you into a deeper experience, moments of resonance and clarity. It is a bridge to divine or universal wisdom. And this is what A Course in Miracles did for me. It clarified my mind. I got into it. A lot of people find that it's difficult to follow, and that's where the next book I'm going to talk about comes in. But I found it to be somewhat easy to read. There were parts that were so deep that I couldn't understand them, and I'm a very deep person. But the thing that I learned about this book, this information, is that you do not have to understand it because it is a living transmission. If your intention is to gain clarity, to get something from this book, your authentic intention, then it will happen. And I had a dream the night that I did the last lesson. Let me tell you that. This is 3 parts. It is a text, a 365-day lesson, part 2, and the third part is a teacher workbook. And I was reading the text and I was doing the 365-day lesson. And I did it persistently every day. I started back in 2018 and I did it every day for 40 days. And then something started feeling like it was just getting too hard. I was like, I just can't do this anymore. And I didn't. And I prayed about it. I said, help me. I feel like I need this book. I need to do the lessons every day. Help me. Sure enough, I got the help and something just came into my feed. And I don't want to take up too much time here because I need to keep the video short or somewhat short. But it was a free 40-day intro to A Course in Miracles. And it changed everything. When I finished that, I went back to A Course in Miracles, did every lesson every day for that year. On the last day of the last lesson of that year, in 2019, I had a dream. I won't go into it too much detail, but it was profound. And this book clarified my mind to a point where I could begin to see all the places inside of me that needed to heal. I couldn't see it before. And that's another reason for my prolonged procrastination, 15 years. I couldn't see all those places that needed to heal in me until I finished this book, this lesson. So, A Course in Miracles, highly recommend it. Changed my life, and I still refer back to it. And then there is the 5th book, The Way of Mastery. This book is very similar to A Course in Miracles. And it also was channeled. I don't know as much about who channeled it, but you have to read them and get your own feel. Once you read it, you will understand where the information comes from. I just had an energy pop in my door, and that was divine, I believe. But yeah, The Way of Mastery, a lot of people find this book a little more easier to follow and understand than A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles, I'll go out and on the chance of saying it's kind of written a little bit like the Bible. It might be hard to read and understand, and you have to interpret the information sometimes. This is more in everyday lay people terms, so to speak. But I read it just because a few years after I finished A Course in Miracles, because I wanted just something different. It was dropped in my lap. A friend was having a group that they organized, and that's the only reason I bought the book. It's because a friend of mine was organizing this group and wanted me to help out and be a part of it. So that's what happened. All right, The Way of Mastery by Shanti Christo Foundation. Those are the 5 books, and now we're going to get into a general energy healing to help you open up to be receptive to these books or any books that you resonate with, just to start moving in that direction, setting that intention for getting information that you need to implement into your life so that you can move into your next transformation. So this is what the energy healing is for. Okay, dear friend, get into your relaxed position in preparation for the energy transmission that is going to help you be open to your next transformation. And say, I am open to receive. Take a few deep breaths to get you And that relaxed mindset, a quiet mind. Let me turn on my light so it won't flash. And we begin. This signals the end of this transmission, energy healing. Blessed be.